refused to say close the border because I think people thought there was a button you could push on the wall and the gates would come down and the border would be closed, and that's of course ridiculous. And people had been given lip service to closing that border without the first foggiest notion of how to do it. And I began to visit with border county sheriffs and local landowners along the border, and I think we've forgotten that's private property down there. There are gates called the legal ports of entry, but we've so neglected the rule of law along our border that that land is being criminally trespassed on a regular basis, and it has destroyed private property. It has destroyed respect for the rule of law. We've got chaos along our border. I've gotten a pickup truck with a man who has farmed several thousand acres for a couple of generations right along the Rio Grande River near Brownsville. He said he likes to grow tomatoes. They grow well in that climate, but he's had to quit growing tomatoes. 5 or 6 days before it's time to harvest the crop, he'll drive out to the field and it's been picked clean. Thousands of acres. He's lost his whole crop because there's no respect for the rule of law. We've got to secure that border. We need a governor who will send a message to President Calderon and to the governors in the Mexican border states to say we are serious about a respect for private property and the rule of law in Texas, and we are going to secure this border. We will deploy the Texas military force to the border to assist local landowners and local law enforcement to make sure that all traffic comes through the gate called the legal port of entry. There will be no more trespassing in South Texas. The Texas military force is made up of 3 branches: the Texas Army National Guard, Air National Guard, and Texas State Guard. The Army National Guard and Air National Guard come under the command of the President of the United States when they're called into active duty as they are needed by our nation. I suspect that our President has no real interest in seeing the Texas border secured. So, not being a fortune teller, I'm going to make a quasi-educated guess that we're going to see an increased deployment of the Texas Air National Guard and Army National Guard to federal service. That means the Texas State Guard needs to be ready. The Texas State Guard is not under the command of the President of the United States. The Texas State Guard is under the command of the Governor of the state of Texas. That Guard needs to be ready to be called into service. So I have been saying for months now, hear me well, we're going to secure that border. That is a voluntary force. If you've ever had an inclination to serve, please look into that. We're not ready today to do the work that we need to do. We have got to help our fellow citizens along that border to protect their private property. We have got to help local county sheriffs to restore the rule of law. We've got to recognize that people will prosper when we adhere to the law and we encourage assimilation to the American dream and idea. Come through the legal port of entry and prosper in Texas, but you're going to do it according to the law. When we secure the border, when we eliminate property tax and we fund schools in this state with a broad-based sales tax, when we address who is it exactly that decides on who gets to deliver charitable service, when we recognize that the federal government has no business telling our health care providers that they will deliver free, uncompensated health care in the emergency room. If a hospital wants to treat you without charge, it's their call, it's not Washington's call. We will see a restoration of the rule of law, and we will correct the cost and the abuse of illegal immigration in our state. We can address those things and we can do them in the next term. All of these things that I have talked about tonight are this kind of approach with Texas. They are not linear. You don't do 1 and then 2 and then 3 and then 4. You bring the full force of the state government to make sure that all of these areas are addressed. And we address them now. We set the bar for excellence in Texas. I was talking with a reporter on the way up here today, and she said, you know, Texas is better off than other states. And I said, I'm so sick of hearing that. That may be true. But we have tripled our debt in this state under Governor Perry's leadership. We had $12 billion of debt when he took office. We have $31 billion of debt today. We have a constitutional debt limit ceiling in this state. We have exhausted 85% of our constitutional debt limit. We are at a 20-year high, 25-year high unemployment rate in our state. Our tax burden has grown. We have the 47th worst public education system in the country. We've never boasted about mediocrity. We deserve better. We're capable of better. Restore limited government in this state. Eliminate property tax. Fund local government with a sales tax. Restore state sovereignty. Secure our border. We'll be free and prosperous in Texas, and our kids will dream again.